Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm chatting with Sean Roosen. In today's interview, we get into the recent price action with the price of gold, what it means for developers, and we get into Osisko Development Corp, who is moving towards production at the Cariboo Gold Project in BC. All right, everybody, enjoy the interview. Sean, thanks for joining us.
Great to be here, guys. On a $4,000 gold day, they're all good.
So since the last time we talked, gold was about $1,000 an ounce lower. I believe that was at the Rule Symposium in Boca Raton back in July.
That's right. Yeah.
And since then, it's been a bit of a volatile ride. I know it's been a little rougher this week when gold was flirting with $4,400 earlier this week. Then it went down to around the $4,000 range. Now, at the time of filming, we're sitting somewhere in the $4,100 range. I haven't checked in a few minutes. Who knows what it's at? I'm sure you probably do. But what's going through your head right now when you think about everything that's been happening with the price of gold?
I never thought I'd see a red board when gold was at 4,100. But here we are. But I think it's extraordinary times, and for the gold sector, we've never seen anything quite like this. Most of the gold increase in gold price and historically has been followed by cost inflation within the mining sector. We have a gap right now when the margins are significant, and producers and developers are seeing the benefit of that. Um, when I look around, I don't really see any new big projects that are, they're kind of being introduced. We don't have an extraordinary level of greenfield exploration success. So it's pretty much the projects that we knew and had at $1,500 gold that are under development now and are receiving a tailwind. So I think that for the stuff that matters in this cycle to the current shareholders and your listeners, it's the stuff that can really get into production within the next 3 to 5 years. That's going to pay. If you already got paid on the producers and you're coming back down market to look at the developers, I think that's the space that's going to benefit here in the short term. And obviously, I'm talking my book because that's the portion of the story that we live in.
It almost sounds a little scary what you're saying, and it's something that I've been sort of thinking about in the back of my mind recently. Is just for the average Joe six pack, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. This idea that gold often moves before recessions and before inflation, and how scary that actually is for the general population.
I agree with you there. I think I live in the camp right now at $4,000 gold. I'm in the careful what you wish for category. I'm not sure that I really need to see $5,000 gold in the short term. We need to build some foundation here. The dollar debasement trade is kind of what's driving this. I'm not sure how much this is really about gold as it is about the U.S. dollar and its reserve currency status, and the fight for power with China and other groups in terms of who controls the reserve base and how assets get allocated on the more conservative side. Like, we didn't have a lot of conservative asset allocation going on up until the last sort of 18 months with gold. Everybody was happy to put their treasury bills and stuff in play, and we saw things like Tether and other things that were treasury bill back get huge traction. Now we're seeing that even those guys in the crypto space that were in pursuit of asset protection and protection against the U.S. dollar are now heavily into the gold space. So I think this one is I hate to say it, but I think this one is a bit different uh, in terms of what the fundamentals that are driving the gold price are. I think the dollar debasement and that is a real story, and it's got continued legs. And it doesn't seem like the current administration is really there to back the dollar up. And if they want to reduce these trade deficits and get the economy humming for the next election, they really do need the U.S. dollar to go down relative to the rest of the currency bucket. And gold is a measurement of that currency bucket. And if you look at gold at every currency from U.S. dollars to euros to Australian to yen. I mean, Canadian dollars, we're at $6,100 an ounce, roughly right now. So we've seen other currencies trying to devalue against the U.S. dollar as well. So this is quite an extraordinary time where we're seeing major currencies pursue this devaluation strategy. Typically, we only see that in the softer currency countries like Argentina and Africa and stuff, where they give a 20% raise to the unions, devalue the currency by 25%, and eventually go for the reset. But this is the first time we've seen this kind of pursuit on the U.S. dollar, I think.
Yeah, I fully agree. Um, I'm curious for you as a developer, do you spend much time worrying about the price of gold or thinking about the price of gold, or are you kind of in the mindset that as long as we're north of $2,700, $2,500, you're in good shape?
We did our updated feasibility study in April 2025 with $2,400 gold. We had an NPV of just under $1 billion at 2,400. The current prices, our NPV on just the reserve ounces, is closer to 2.5 billion. So we're enjoying the gold price, but we are protected on the downside. We built this project, for a much different and much less robust market than we're in now. So this is a premium project in the space, and we've seen our market cap reflect that. This year we've gone from a $250 million market cap to $1.1 billion market cap Canadian. And then we raised quite a bit of money. We took a lot of risk off. We've raised, about $900 million Canadian, or 650 million US, or basically since we put the feasibility study out in April. So we've taken risk off the table, and my goal is always risk off, risk off, risk off, and we're 30 months from 29 months from revenue right now. So that's my goal, is to push this project as hard and fast into revenue as we can. We come online at about 200,000 ounces a year for the first 5 years, and we've got a mine life of 190,000 up for 10 years. But that only includes 2 million ounces out of our overall resource. And in addition to the reserves of 2 million ounces, we've got another 1.61 million ounces of measured and indicated, another 1.89 million ounces of inferred. So there's another 3.5 million ounces that are being built. The underground accesses all those ounces, um, while we're building the reserve, the pink mine, as we call it, because all our reserves are denoted in a graphic on our website in pink. And then we have our phase two mine, which is basically all the stuff that needs to be infill drilled from the underground to convert to reserve. So we have mine one and two under development as we speak, and all the economics that you see in our feasibility study, the 1,187 US dollar ASIC, which leaves us with a margin of about $3,900 an ounce, or $2,900 an ounce right now. This is a very profitable mine, and it would make roughly $2 million a day if it was in production right now.
How much more capital is needed after this spot deal for you guys to get into production?
Our capex on this project was 650 million US dollars, or 881 Canadian, and we've now raised 670 million US dollars. So we're fully financed on the budget, more than 670. We just raised another 75 million Canadian, and 30 million of that was for flow through. So we're fully funded to build the 200,000 ounce a year mine, which accesses the other 3.5 million ounces of resources there as well. So we're in very good shape, and we're going aggressively right now. We were fully permitted as of November 2024. So we've got fully financed, fully permitted in Canada, taking advantage of the weak Canadian dollar. Uh, and we're underway now. We've got a final investment decision coming up at the end of the year to unlock some of the akin financing. But we have enough capital on board that we're doing the early works. We're underground. We're roughly 2,000 meters of underground development into the project right now. So we're in the ore body. We're de-risking every day, and we're doing detailed infill drilling from underground. We have 3 rigs going to 4 underground. Recently, we raised some money for more drilling from surface. So we're game on. We've about 140 people on site right now. We got earthworks on the go for our settling ponds, our waste dumps, and our mill site construction. We've procured our milling equipment for the most part. We bought a complete combination circuit, brand new, that was never installed. It was destined for the Hud Bay Loiler project. So all that equipment is procured and paid for, which is why our capex for the size of mine is relatively light. So we own the crushers and the ball mills, and all the things are sitting essentially an hour and a half from the site in our storage yard. So detailed engineering is initiated, and we're building power lines, and we just upgrading our camp. We're at about 130 people now. By the end of November, we'll have 270-man camp, and we own some hotels and other stuff. We have about 350 rooms, which is what we need for construction. So everything we need to set the table for this mine build is in place as we speak.
So, looking at the bigger picture here, or are you guys intending to place an emphasis on Tintic once Caribou is operational? What's the plan there?
We're doing a small amount of underground mining at Tintic as we speak. So Tintic's actually producing a small amount of gold from some of the stockpiles that we had on site. We were one of only two permitted leach pads in Utah. We're starting to ship some high grade ore to an outside refiner, and some underground development drilling is underway there. So we will bring that on, but we're looking for a partner on that asset, and I think we're pretty close to bringing in a partner. It's a great U.S. asset. It's polymetallic. There's 5 gold mines, 18 CRD mines there. And then, so those were silver, lead, zinc. And then there's a manganese tailings pond that we're looking at. And then the high grade gold system that we published a small resource of about 150,000 ounces at 21 grams. We accessed that from the underground, and we're in there now doing some work. And then the big target that was there was the same one that our neighbor Ivanhoe Electric is chasing, and Freeport. We think there's potential for a copper porphyry that's like Bingham. We're 40 miles from Bingham, which is the largest copper gold project in Western U.S. So we're hoping that we find that we're in this graben. This was property previously operated by Kennecott. So it's a pretty interesting place, and we really do want to get the exploration drilling back up and going on that, hopefully next year as we partner up on it too.
How challenging is it to find people in this environment? Like, I assume we see all these financings, all these companies are raising money, they're moving their projects along. Is it getting harder to find people who want to work in mining these days?
We're fortunate that we're actually on a paved road near a town in British Columbia. So we've got a lot of people that are on fly in, fly out around the world, more exotic destinations like Congo or Papua New Guinea and things that are from BC or have moved to BC. So we've got a stack of willing participants that want to come and work at this project, because it's a very easy site to get to. There's a town of 28,000 people, Quesnel, right next to us. And the next town over, about an hour and 20 away, is Prince George, 172,000 people. Where we're picking up other people is that there's been a lot of demise in the softwood and the timber industry. We have 6 mills that have gone to either shut down or single shift. So a lot of the people that we're working with there will be millwrights and mechanics are definitely easily retrained for mining, and we're seeing pretty good ship shape with the underground miners. More young people are actually coming into the sport than we've seen for a while because of the demise that's gone on in some of the other sectors that are traditionally in our region, like ranching and logging and pulp and paper, and even the anticipated effect of AI on the tech sector. We're seeing a lot of technical people, computer engineering style people that are interested in being in the new modern mining industry, where we have a lot of instrumentation and automation coming in. So there is a challenge for senior gray hairs, but we're seeing more enthusiasm for mining in the younger generation than we've seen before.
Sean, I have a viewer question here from a Mr. Frank Callahan, who perhaps you know. He was asking what you think of that property that hit a 450 meters of mineralization right next to you guys in the Caribou camp.
Well, we got a lot of time, a lot of respect for Frank. The land package that we operate on is 1,550 square kilometers, about 500,000 acres. Frank did all the consolidation of that land package. He's a good explorationist, and couldn't happen to a better guy. And as you see, some of that mineralization runs onto our block. So as I said to Frank, I'd be happy to pay for any drilling that's just still in mineralization that goes onto our block. Just keep it going. He's a good partner, and the more we drill, the more we find. And we have to remember, this is an entire mining camp. This is the size of the entire Val-d'Or camp. It's 50 kilometers long in the main trend and 32 kilometers in the Yanks Peak trend. and we're at the beginning of this. We've only explored 7% of the trend. So we have we have drill knowledge over 4.4 kilometers of 83 kilometers. So this is the beginning, and this is mine one. We expect there's going to be several mines in this camp. We've only drilled down to a depth of 350 meters, and we've documented, 2 million ounces of reserves, 3.5 million ounces of resources. So, if we keep going, that's averaging 15,000 ounces of vertical meter. If we keep going down to 1,000 to 1,500, we may prove Frank's original assumption true at some point. But we've drilled 800,000 meters here, which is about 2.1 million feet. And so it's one of the more intense drill programs that a lot of these BC assets have ever seen. As you know, we've been through some successful ones, with the Canadian Malartic being Canada's largest gold mine, now owned by Agnico. We drilled 2.2 million meters there, and we sold that. It was 670,000 ounce a year mine, still going. And we sold Windfall Lake to Goldfields last year through the Osisko Mining 2. That was about 7.5 million ounces. We've got our sister company, Osisko Metals, drilling Gas Bay, 1.5 billion tons of 0.36 copper equivalent. And we drilled off Hammond Reef and a bunch of other things. We've drilled off 150 million ounces. So we are one of the biggest explorer brownfield specialist developers in the history of Canada. And this is a world-class scale project, the likes of which the land package like this, we don't see too many equivalents, where you got 50 kilometers of mineralized trend to start with, and a parallel trend on that. So we expect to be here a long time, and we will bring the mountains alive with the sound of drills. So the Osisko logo slogan over top of my door says "Suds," which stands for "Shut up and drill, stupid."
One thing I want to ask you about here is this idea that, and it's funny. I talked to other people who've developed mines in Canada over the last few years, and I always get mixed reactions to this question. But we hear all this talk in the media about how challenging it is to get through permitting and how much red tape there is and what a problem the government is. Now, you're putting something into production in Canada. You've been going through that process for the last few years, so I feel like you've got a real unique perspective on this that most people can't speak to.
Yeah,
What's that
I'm
like?
gonna give a shout out to the BC government. Osisko, we were the first ones to go through the new NDP government's permitting process. We had our EA certificate in just a little over 3 years. And it was 13 months from the time we had the EA certificate to the time we had the full mining and construction permit. So 4 years, 10 months from the time we've made our request to the time we achieved it. The NDP got elected last fall. They appointed the cabinet on Tuesday. Tuesday night, we got a call from the newly appointed minister, who is now dedicated minister of mines, not shared with energy. Before it was energy and mines. So BC stepped up and made the mining industry a priority. And we had the Minister of Mines with us at Beaver Creek. He met with different shareholders of ours and said, my first act of business was to give Osisko their mining permit. And I not only gave them the permit, but I'm here to defend the permit. And if Osisko and Sean have any problems, they're to call me. And they said that to some of our bigger shareholders face to face in those meetings. So I've never had a minister come on the road with me before. I think the environment has changed a lot here in BC. And certainly the new minister's got a level of energy and enthusiasm that I haven't seen really since probably some of the earlier days in Quebec, when Quebec was, you know, pretty rah on the mining development side. So I'd say we're back. There's going to take some settling in time, but we were able to permit, a 5,000 ton a day mine, which kept us out of the federal process.
Yep.
It wasn't easy, but there was drive from the elected officials into the into the technocrats to energize them to get this process underway. And we've had pretty good success with that. Now we're fully permitted because we had support from our First Nations partners, Lataco, Dene, and Williams Lake as well, because they're very enthusiastic. So having those fundamental relationships and that support from the First Nations group has been the key to our success, I think. But that's part of the equation, and depending on what's going on. The different governments have had different tactics to it. Certainly, the federal government has been negative with Law C-69 on the resources, and they're hopefully going to change that. But on a BC basis, we've had pretty good support. Again, it's a shout out to the Minister Barhara for his leadership and energy coming into this.
All right. Well, Sean, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. You're truly one of the more exciting people we get to talk to. There's not too many people who have discovered mines in Canada that we get to chat with. I mean, I'm not sure how many gold mines exist in Canada. I assume it's less than 50. And to be able to have been one of the guys who found those, I think puts you in a very unique category of people in the industry. So I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. And hopefully, as you guys move to development, we can do this again soon.
Yeah, and just as a wrap up for your watchers, appreciate the opportunity. This is fully permitted, fully financed in Canada. It's going to be in production, within the next by 2027 with a full year in 2028. And the valuation comparable metrics, if you compared us to a market cap somewhere between Westome and G Mining, that's a 3.6 to $7.6 billion outcome. We're trading at about a $1.1 billion outcome. So we've got some room to move as we get further into the development of this story. I encourage anybody, give us a call or reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn. Happy to talk to any of your listeners.
And I appreciate that. And we've reached out to your office before with questions on some of the content we were making, and we found everybody to be really responsive. So we appreciate that, and we appreciate you taking the time to do this.
ODV on the NYSE. Thanks for having us. I appreciate the support.
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this interview, do me a favor, smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching.